It's been a while. I have so many cool things to show you. Hey y'all! My name's Laura. My pronouns are she, her, and it's nice to be back here. I, of course, love cross stitch, but I haven't been super consistent of late. I discovered this in summer 2020 and I got really into it and then life happened. Um, so a lot of the reason why I just haven't been able to be super consistent here is I'm a teacher and I started at a new school this past fall. But I also, in addition to just starting at a new school, which is a lot of work because you need to learn how that school does things and all of that fun stuff. I also switched age levels. So this year has been a lot of new for me in so many ways. And also, I my current position is a 1 year only position. So in March, I had so many job interviews, just so many. Oh my goodness, how I survived March. There was 1 week I had 8 interviews. But look, I'm still here. I'm in one piece. I have most of my brain cells left. Also, I have a job for next year, and it means I need to move again. Anyway, so some things are sorted, some things are not. These are all the reasons why I haven't been cross stitching as much and why you haven't heard from me in a while. And I miss you all. I feel like I have a lot of really nice friends in the cross stitch community, and I see it, so many of you coming out with these really beautiful patterns. Like Yasmin, I want to stitch all of your patterns, but also Shazita. And then Miriam keeps on coming out with more, and I'm just like, I can't do all of this. And yeah, well, I'm trying. So I love all of you. Um, and I'm going, your patterns are all on my list. But maybe instead of just this long babble of what is going on and all of that, I want to show you the things I've actually done. Because I'm moving again, truly excited about the new job. I just want to get to it in one piece. But I'm finding myself in this position where there's a couple things that are like have been close to done, and it's given me this renewed energy to actually completely finish these so I can maybe get some of them in the mail. So the first one is this one, my beautiful plague doctor. So this is a housewarming present for a dear friend who purchased a house 2 years ago. It's been a little bit. So he actually chose this pattern because the pandemic had already started. I remember He was having a bad day, so I reached out and was like, "Hey, can I make you something?" So he chose this one. Originally, the flowers in the pattern is charted were blue, but he wanted to have this juxtaposition of like plague doctor with happy colors. So that's that's how I thought to do that. And also, like with these 5 petals here, they really look like ume or plum blossoms to me. So that's how I modeled this exact color of pink. I like the damask 18 count Ada I chose, but this one took a little bit longer than I would have liked to stitch because the pattern is nice, but it's I bought it from a pattern mill on Etsy. Many people have different opinions about pattern mills. Here I just mean pattern mill as there's a lot of very similar types of patterns. So this person has taken a motif and then like modified it a little bit, and there's a bunch of different patterns of that same version. I do think this person has like genuinely made every pattern themselves, but not all of them have necessarily been test stitched, and that was one of the issues with this pattern. So their hat here, there are actually 2 shades of gray. But the shades that were chosen are not different enough in real life. So this was actually a gigantic headache to stitch, and I got halfway through the hat and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do with my life? And I probably should have just ripped out what I had done and then chosen 2 different grays and moved on. But no, I had decided that I had stitched enough and I wasn't tearing it all out, and I just like stalled and I didn't finish it for a while. But I finally convinced myself to finish it, I want to say last summer. I think I did. I finished the stitching before I did my current move. And then I was like, yo, Keith, you need to choose a frame. So he bought this frame because I was like, I have put in enough money into this project, and he's a tech wizard and makes a lot more money than I do. He can buy his own frame. And then finally, took a little bit for him to choose a frame. It got to me, and then it was sitting on my table over there for a while. And I finally framed it just a few days ago. So I think he did a wonderful job. And now that I've showed it to you, I can finally put this in the mail and he can have this in his beautiful home. I have been loving hearing about all of his home updates. He's painting the exterior right now. So it's been really cool to follow that. In a way to keep up with a friend who doesn't necessarily live close by. So this was a really nice finish. I want to say this is from like Stitch's Lover's Shop. Um, so again, like perfectly fine designer, but not, I don't think many of their patterns have been test stitched. So expect some, it's possible that there might be some color changes that you might want to switch out in some of those patterns. I think I have an idea that I showed this one last time, but that it was not framed. I think maybe who remembers? It was so long ago. So this was some mystery fabric gifted to me by my dear friend Nati, Stitchy Nati. And this is 1/1. Oh dear. Little Stab Studios. This is Quaker Rice Ball. So this one was really cute and speaks to me because this is a Japanese food item, onigiri, a rice ball, but Quaker motifs inside. And I am a quarter Okinawan, which is now part of the country of Japan. It's a big deal. Anyway, I love to eat this food. This is one part of my heritage. And then my grandmother was also Quaker. So this was just a really kind of a happy circumstance of this shows two parts of my heritage, which I did not expect to be combined. So this will be a gift for my mom. And here I put it in one of these beautiful laser cut frames by 3 Inches Hand Embroidery, which is an Etsy shop. And they have just the most wonderful frames for cross stitch. They're one of my favorite framers because you can see the back is completely enclosed and there's a couple different versions of their frames, but all of them have the same idea that it's completely enclosed. And they have a new version where you can like put it over an embroidery hoop, but I never choose that option because honestly I find it much easier to just use the backing they provide, and it's great and I love it. So I'm really happy to have this one done, though I'm not super happy with how the placement ended up. I think it is a little bit lower than would be great. I found it a little bit tricky to put, a triangle thing and a round thing, and just I did try to find a triangle frame, but I wasn't able to find one at the right size. And at some point, it was like, you know what? These circle frames exist. Sometimes done is better than perfect, and I think my mom will like it nonetheless. Yeah, I have done two more tiny, tiny finishes because I've been loving the tiny stitching, heavily inspired by my friends Kaylee of Kaylee Cross Stitch and then Stitchy Nati. So let's do these one at a time. So this one is a pattern I made, Sea Bunny New Year. So this is a Sea Bunny nudibranch. Um, so nudibranchs are a type of mollusk. So some people might call them a sea slug. And this one is particularly adorable. It has two little things that look like ears and a thing that looks like a tail. So it really does look like a bunny rabbit. And there happens to be like one picture on the internet, which is just like almost looks like a cartoon. It's that cute. So I just took that picture and then I made it even more like round and adorable and added a little 2023 in the back because this year is the year of the water rabbit. So I thought this was especially cute. I did not come up with this idea from scratch. I did see it on one of my ecology meme groups online. Yes, that is what I do in my spare time. I look at ecology and evolutionary biology memes because memes are life. But I was really happy to finally get this one framed in a pendant because it is a 2023 one. Want to get it framed now. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it from here, but it's nice to have this one finished. And I think I showed this to you before, but I also have a larger version. I made a little mandala. I was like, oh, I'm totally going to frame it before I like do my Flosstube and then I can show it off. And I even have this beautiful frame here from Mini Frame Factory. And look, I think it fits. It's great. And then I remembered I need to sew the edges before I can lace it around something. And I don't have a sewing machine. So I have reached out to a friend who even has a serger this time. Normally, I've just been able to ask people who have normal sewing machines. But because I have a friend with a serger, we already have a friend date all set up. So I have this and a couple other things that are cut to size, and she's going to help me serge the edges, and then I can frame everything. It'll be beautiful and on my wall. But yeah, I actually designed both of these patterns. So I've been kind of like, oh, should I format these to sell them? I don't know. Am I the only person who likes nudibranchs? Would you like to stitch these patterns? Should I put them online? I don't know. Yeah, I apparently like had a bunch of caffeine. Why am I so all over the place? Maybe it's because I'm just not used to this. I'm just like going and going and going. But yeah. Oh, thank you, Art Base, for making these wonderful pendant blanks. These are the best. I love them. And look at how professional the back is. And I've been getting better at doing these. Like, I have not been getting glue all over the back. The first couple few were, there were some glue fingerprints I needed to hide. The other one I'm really happy about is this one. So here's another one of those cat silhouettes by La Selva Design. And this one is the cat as rolling all over the back because that's what Ruthie likes to do. And of course, this is on, this was 28 count opalescent linen in full bloom by Extra Design. I feel like I'm just like a walking ad for Extra Design. They're one of my favorite fabric dyers. They have just such beautiful colors, and I find a lot of really vibrant ones and a lot of purples. I love purple, also shiny things. So yeah, this one I was a little worried because like there's a little divot, it's a non-standard shape, but it was actually like went pretty well. Again, I think I could have done slightly better with the placement. I wish it was just like a teeny bit higher, but you know what? That's fine. But I do like it. Now I have a Ruthie and a heart because she is my heart. And again, look, there's no glue fingerprints on the back. I'm so proud of myself. Definitely getting better at this finishing game. See, now I like need to find a nice chain. I used to have like a nice thick silver chain, but honestly, I haven't seen that since my move in 2020. So, yeah, that one might just be lost for forever, which is kind of sad. Moves like that happen sometimes. Um, the other framed finish I have is really exciting. So this is the original Shimanchu Rabbit. I've been calling it Shimanchu Rabbit 1.0. So here, this is 1/1, again on the same fabric as this. So it's 20 count opalescent linen in full bloom from X2 Designs. And like, I'm proud of it because it's the first pattern I ever designed in its completeness. Every single motif was me. Um, it it needs some work. Like the shading is not as good in the ears. Also, I didn't do as good a job choosing thread and fabric. There's just not quite enough contrast. So in the Shimanchu Rabbit that you can see online, it's actually it's a different series of pink. So here there's I think too much contrast between the lightest and the darkest pink. So I chose a different series. And then also just like did the shading differently in the ears. The other difference is you'll see I have my family crest right here. And that's not what I put in the one that everyone else can buy, because that would be kind of weird putting my family crest in something that just anyone can buy and stitch. So this is actually a Mother's Day present for my mom because I thought she would really enjoy this. The ginkgo frame is partially because I wanted to pick up the gold thread here. If you follow my Instagram, you might have noticed I originally put it in a slightly different frame. It has also gold, a little bit of bamboo, but it was a little bit brighter gold. And the frame was slightly larger. Here, I like how the ginkgo leaves kind of go in, so they cover up some of this space. I like this pattern, but the fabric, it got just the tiniest bit warped because it's linen. So I think this helps hide some of those imperfections because, I have this very straight border, so it's kind of obvious if it's not straight. And the gold here is just a little bit softer, so it actually brings out the gold in these swirls a little bit better. Unfortunately, I had some problems with this frame. So this is one of the frames that it like you can unhook it and then it hinges out and you'll notice it's breaking here. What did you do, Laura? How did you mess up this badly? Um, so the glass, you'll notice the glass is still here. Normally I pop out all the glasses in anything I frame for cross stitch because I want the fabric to be out in the open because that's, I don't know, part of the charm, at least in my instance, though, is of course, you are exposing them to the elements. The glass is glued to this frame. So that means there's just less space within here to fit all of your fabric in. And because like the glue actually kind of is in the corner, so that's why this corner specifically is having problems. So if I had been paying more attention, I might have like snipped the corner of the cardboard that I made to fit in here, and then maybe it would have been better. But I've already laced everything. And yeah, I didn't want to do that. And then this happened. So it's fine. It mostly holds together. I think my mom's still gonna like it, and it does still work. And if we need to, we can do something more dire here to hold it all together. Though it was kind of hilarious because I originally put it in that other frame, which was still nice. I'm excited to use it for something else, but it was just slightly too big that I actually had to unlace and relace it on just a slightly smaller square of cardboard. So yeah, I laced this piece twice, but overall, I think this frame fits it a lot better for all of those reasons. You would also be like, Laura, isn't Mother's Day today? You're filming late on Sunday, Mother's Day. Shouldn't you have given this to your mom already? Well, probably. In my family, or at least with my parents, they are just like chronically late with presents. That's just kind of how we do things. We actually kind of like it because we try to be on time for people outside of our family when we give gifts, but to each other, by being late, you actually kind of extend the celebration. And for us, it's more about like, we are thinking of you. It's just, it doesn't always work well to have it right on the date. And we're all like, that's just how we do it. So, my mom is simply going to be happy to get this when she gets this and is not going to be put out. And I frequently get presents late too. And honestly, it's just kind of fun. I really appreciate that kind of more relaxed gift giving experience because if something comes up, like it's not the end of the world and everybody understands that. But it is interesting that I notice like with anybody else that's not part of my immediate family, I'm like, ooh, try to be really on the ball about when I send out gifts. Oh, I have some wonderful things I got from some friends. So first, Anna is just so lovely. After I think this was after I had shared my Shimanchu rabbit pattern, she actually sent me this gorgeous fabric. So when I'm designing Okinawan cultural patterns or Shimanchu patterns, I'm trying to reflect some part of like Okinawan cultural tradition. And yellow fabric is really common in Okinawan art. And this is just like the perfect fabric. I'm pretty sure it's a napkin, looking at the how the edges are serged, but like this is going to be excellent cross stitch fabric. I haven't counted it yet. Looking at it, I would guess it's somewhere around a 28 count. But because it's like already perfectly hemmed, like I am saving this for like one project that's going to go on this and will, I don't know, be displayed kind of like on a table somewhere. So yes, thank you again, Anna. This is a treasure, and will be sitting here until I can find a project that is worthy of it. Um, Anna is always so thoughtful, and she is one of my favorite pattern designers as well because she does such a good job of reflecting her culture and her patterns as well. I'm always really impressed by the amount of research she does. The other thing she sent me is this little dormouse kit. I really love anything nature related. So yes, I'm excited to do this one, though I might do it over one because I can. The other treat I got in the mail, and this was actually a while ago, is Kaylee of Kaylee Cross Stitch sent me a tiny stitching kit. She sent, oh, this is just such a treasure I have here. So I have some 40 count and 56 count and more 56 count. There's needles included, and she sent me different threads. So keep in mind, Kaylee and I are just like real friends. So I think I maybe got a slightly more intensive kit than most other people get. I know most people are totally wonderful about these things, but I have heard of a few people who've been like a little demanding about her tiny stitching kits. So like, just be grateful with for whatever she gives you. But Kaylee included black, red, and gold because these are the perfect colors for me to stitch another Maneki Neko with. So I really do need to get to this. I've been a little intimidated by this because it's much smaller than I normally stitch, and because I've been a little bit un uneven, inconsistent, there's the word. I haven't been able to stitch super consistently, especially in February and March because I was just so much on the job search train that I had to put this down because I did not have the brain space to like do something super tiny. But actually right now I've been kind of in a like this place where I have been getting so much done. It's at least cross stitching wise, which is rather impressive. So maybe I will have the confidence to pick this up. But if you want to get into tiny stitching, I know I share a lot of it, but normally I'm stitching on 32 count fabric. Both Kaylee and Nati are doing it on much, much tinier counts. So they are great resources if you want to embark on that. And honestly, they're my role models for that as well. Another cool thing is I had a bit of a disaster. So because I've been doing a bunch of these like tiny smalls, I have like this little um bag where I have a couple of my things that come with me. So, needle case, a needle minder, scissors, blah blah blah. And the needle minder I use is my Lucky Mew. And I opened up my case the other day, and Mew had fallen off. It was a tragedy. Obviously, you can see I've solved it at this point, but that's because I already had my E6000 glue and these amazing clamps that I purchased from Amazon. So I think I actually left the glue on here and under the clamp for over a day, but that was mostly because I just got distracted. I don't think I needed to leave it for like 36 hours. That was just because that's sometimes what life does. So yeah, wow. I talked really fast, didn't I? So I've been doing a lot of things. And some of it is, designing my own patterns. Um, it's been interesting seeing people stitching Shimanchu Rabbit, the first pattern I put out there. So definitely some of the reason that I have not been on here as consistently is just like life stuff that's totally outside the realm of cross stitch. But I did actually I don't know, I was a little self-conscious after I put Shimanchu Rabbit out there. It was really cool to see people love it and to see people stitch it. Though I saw several people who, when they were sharing their progress, they were speaking about it slightly incorrectly. So like saying that it was Japanese or that I was Japanese, and ooh, that did not feel great. Um, so I am a quarter Okinawan. So Okinawa is now part of the country of Japan, but our people, my people, the Uchinanchu. So Uchinanchu is our word for ourselves, or the people from the island of Okinawa specifically. But the Ryukyu archipelago, of which Okinawa is the largest island, has, I want to say, over 160 islands. Like, there's a lot of different islands, a lot of different individual groups, a lot of different cultural traditions. Like, we are distinctly different from the country of Japan, and we were our own nation for a long time, hundreds of years. Um, Extended political and cultural relations with many other cultures in or Southeast Asia, East Asia, really good relationships with several dynasties from China. We are not Japanese. We were forcibly taken over. The history between Okinawa and Japan is not great, and it's one of oppression and genocide. World War II was not great for my people. Um, so please, I appreciate you stitching my pattern. I appreciate you trying. But calling this pattern or me Japanese really is not great. So those were some of the reasons why I would see that, and I was just like, cool, we're not gonna like engage in the cross stitch world for a little bit. Um, Whew. So I have already put out a lot of educational resources out there, both on the pattern itself to learn more, but also in my video about the pattern. I have other videos more specifically about Indigenous history, where I also have a section about my own people. Um, so if you're here, you should care about me. Um, Otherwise, I would be super confused as to why you've listened this long. Um, but I would appreciate if you would take some time to learn, because I know nobody who said those things means it out of malice. But even if there is no malice, it can still hurt, and that happens frequently around Indigenous cultures. And you know how people talk about dream catchers and other things around just Indigenous cultural appropriation due to ignorance. But that's a lot of the problem and a lot of the fight with Indigenous people. Some of it is just due to simple ignorance, and some of it is due to active maliciousness. Um, and it would be great if everybody could take some time to learn a little bit more. It's been cool seeing Stitch for Pride and how people have been engaging in that. One thing Dee's doing really well is making it year round, because we shouldn't just have like 1 month to care about Black history, 1 month to care about Asian history, 1 month to care about Pride. These are things we should all be doing year round. So it was really cool to see in February during Black History Month, like everybody was stitching Nuri's, oh, from Shaded Stitchery, the beautiful diagrams of W. W.E.B. Du Bois, all of his graphs that she has translated into cross stitch. But then March started, and I just saw none of that, and it doesn't feel great to see that. Uh, so awareness months are good to remind people of things, but if that's the only time you engage with that, that's not a good sign. Like, these are months to remind us that these are things we need to do year round. So I encourage you, like, stitch for pride, not just in June. um, Make sure you're supporting Black, Asian, and Indigenous designers, artists, like beyond just cross stitch, outside of the awareness months. You can use the hashtag Stitch Asia for the entire year. That's what I do. Um, so it's nice to see that people do mean well, but I think there are ways we can take it a slightly farther. And one thing that's always just something I've always noticed is there are people in the cross stitch community who seem to care about Indigenous women and stitch for uh, murdered and missing Indigenous women and Two-Spirit individuals. But nobody in this community seems to acknowledge Red Dress Day is when May 5th is when the Indigenous community actually, has demonstrations and remembrances around um, murdered and missing Indigenous women and Two-Spirit individuals. So, yeah, make sure that when you are trying to help any group of people, you look to members of that group and follow their lead. There is a gorgeous print, which I will link below, that you can purchase on Etsy, that is by an Indigenous artist. Her name is Kelsey. She is Native Alaskan, and that's on sale right now. And proceeds go to help murdered and missing Indigenous women. So there are many Indigenous artists doing really cool stuff. Just, not in the cross stitch community, because the cross stitch community tends to be uh, made up of other demographic groups at the moment. Yeah. So that's a lot. Thank you for being here for my rambles. I almost forgot. I put it on the wall right here so I could show it off first. And guess what? Forgot to do that at all. So this was actually a gift from Stitchinati. So in one of my floss tubes, I want to say last summer, I said something along the lines, when in doubt, make it sparkle. And then she stitched this for me. It was really touching. Thank you again, Nati. And then I found the perfect frame with glitter. Oh my goodness. So this frame is from Mini Frame Factory on Etsy. Totally in love. Actually, this frame also from them. They're really cool because they have these like beautiful frames in fairly small sizes, which I need. And then you can ask them to put sawtooth hangers on the back. And they do that for free as long as you buy them or ask for that when you buy them. So yeah, finally framed this one. And I like even hid all the lacing on the back. And I actually redid my little wall over here. And you might be like, why did you bother rehanging stuff when you're going to move in a couple months? I'm like, well, it's worth it. So, yes, I did actually redo my wall. And I specifically wanted this to be right next to my stitching spot because this is actually where I stitch. But I also wanted it to be in frame so you can appreciate that. So, sorry, I forgot to do that first stuff. That was actually my original plan. And then I just got completely sidetracked. The other thing I've been up to, completely outside of stitching, is I have perfected my creme brulee. Specifically, I have been making tea infused creme brulee because tea is life. My mom sent me a recipe a couple weeks ago for Earl Grey creme brulee. And I was like, oh my God. So I made that, and then I'm like, well, obviously, I now need to try every single tea in my cabinet, which is kind of a lot. I don't think you all have gotten to experience this as much, but like I am completely obsessed with tea. Tea is life. If you saw me in person, you would notice this because I'm like never more than like 10 feet away from a cup of tea. It is literally all I drink. But yeah, uh, creme brulee is great and it tastes really good if you infuse it with tea. And I've gotten really good at it. I did a good job with this batch. This one is infused it with yi mei ren tea, which is Chinese black tea. I think this one is Fujian province. Anyway, Chinese blacks give a really nice, smooth, subtle flavor. Do recommend.